All right, let's look at your Monday markets now, and this may be something on your mind. Petrol is set to rise in just 2 days on Wednesday, but the extent of the hike is not yet clear. Now, if government does not intervene, predictions suggest that the price hike could be higher than R3.50 per litre. That'll take petrol to above 25 Rand per litre, a crippling blow for commuters in South Africa. Now, officials met this past weekend to discuss further interventions after the government introduced a temporary R1.50 per litre relief. That was for the months of April and May, so there are calls for an extension. Government levies, of course, including a general fuel levy and road accident fund, those make up about a third of what we as consumers pay. Now, in the meantime, let's look at what has been driving up the price of fuel in South Africa. Firstly, it's the dollar-rand exchange rate, since we buy oil in dollars. And of course, South Africa commuters are heavily at the mercy of the global price of oil. So that's what we're looking at right now, and we are heavily impacted by this price. Well, today, the price of Brent crude oil, which we import for fuel, topped $120 per barrel for future supplies. That is largely thanks to Russia's invasion of Ukraine and sanctions affecting the flow of Russian oil. To put this into perspective, before the fears of a Russian invasion began in February, oil was trading at below $90 per barrel in January. Then it hit a 14-year high, close to 140, so we were even worse than this in March. But today's level, after some pullback, is back at a 2-month high. Oil was tempered recently by concern that the Chinese economy will slow down due to the heavy lockdowns there, but the key hub of Shanghai has now allowed manufacturing operations to resume. The surge in oil prices has contributed to a sharp pickup in the pace of inflation around the world. We're seeing that here in South Africa, and it's spurring on central banks like our own to raise interest rates to slow the rate of price hikes. And of course, that also comes with economic pain. All right, we'll talk about petrol in a moment. Let's just take a look at the rest of your main financial indicators. Here's how the markets ended. All right, back to these crazy petrol prices. Now, the petrol price is heavily regulated in South Africa, but on Wednesday, the price of diesel is going to be completely deregulated, and there are moves to do the same with petrol. The question is, what difference will it make to you and me and other users? To discuss, we're joined by Tshepo Mongoai, SABC's Economics editor, who joins us every Monday. Welcome, as always. Firstly, let's look at what's going to happen on Wednesday. If government doesn't intervene, we're looking at R3.50, a R4 increase on top of record high fuel prices. Is that potentially devastating to you?
It will be. It's going to be a shock to the system. Any major price hike often it results in a lot of pressure on consumers, and one cannot comprehend how that is going to be, but it's going to be tough for business and consumers as well. Obviously, we know that petrol price, it's immediate to work its way into the system, so its impact is going to be seen the next day on the economy, and even the impact on the inflation is going to be felt. We're already seeing a lot of price pressures across the board, and they are becoming more broad-based in our economy, but we are seeing the Reserve Bank acting to make sure that they are not quite well anchored, but is the reality that we are dealing with currently.
It affects all the trucks carrying our goods. We're too reliant on road transport. And then we know if taxis hike prices, if the Ubers, the taxis, everybody hikes prices, it's very hard for those to come down. Do you think government's really thinking about that, as it obviously is still deciding what to do, because we haven't heard anything yet?
I'm sure government is alive to the reality on the ground of what's happening, and they will have to act. Currently, what we know might happen, although you never know, because there's a lot of strong lobby group from the fuel retailers, is with regard to the price cap on the 93 unleaded. That was put across as a proposal that might be introduced on Wednesday, if indeed it goes ahead. So as a result, we may see more, if I can call it, deregulation with the price of 93 octane, especially inland, and that will bring some flexibility. And again, the price of diesel as well. But that will only affect
93, even though 95 is a very popular fuel.
No, there's not going to. Remember that when diesel was first deregulated at the retail level, the move in government was that there's going to be more deregulation in that space. Obviously, a lot has happened. There hasn't been much movement in that direction. One of the hurdle was the pipeline between Gauteng and Durban, that after that pipeline we could see more deregulation of the fuel, but clearly that hasn't happened. And as a result, when governments start to advance those moves, the fuel retailers are saying this is going to put lots of pressure on us, because they've enjoyed that protection. Obviously, protection, it covers up for some inefficiencies, but also remember, some new entrants in the retail space, fuel retail space, they've come, some of them are highly geared. And as a result, their estimations were based on the current margin that retailers can get. So if this move goes ahead, we could see some fuel retailers closing shop.
So let's just be clear, the regulation right now sets a price. So you're saying the fuel retailers like it because that pushes up the price to some extent. If there's a lot of competition, they may be forced to bring down their prices, which would be good for us. Although they say that the margins are so small. So what real difference could deregulation make?
Well, the issue of the price cap that government is coming up. So if they're introducing a price cap, say, for example, on 93, the price cap means that it can only play around a very limited margin. Remember,
so they can go down but not up.
Yeah.
And they don't like that.
No, absolutely. And remember, they're competing with the wholesalers, for example, who are buying their fuel directly from manufacturer at a discounted price. And they have to compete in the same space. But the reality is they're already competing, or they like it or not, they are already competing with wholesalers, because you and I can go to any wholesaler and fill up our diesel. We can easily do that. But we could also start seeing more competition among fuel retailers, different names. We could even start seeing adverts of certain prices. I'm talking 93 octane and diesel, obviously. Now that diesel is going to be completely deregulated at both wholesale and retail.
So that is what's happening on Wednesday. We've got a definite move on diesel, but did I hear you correctly? We're waiting to see what will happen around 93 unleaded.
I'm sure the fuel retailers are putting a lot of pressure on government because they don't like this move. Anything is possible. But this is the announcement that government has made. But whether it will be part of the announcement tomorrow, one never know. But, that's what we were told would happen.
What about the argument that this could be good for urban consumers, and I've seen it in the US, you see those adverts and you can compare petrol stations and get cheaper prices, but apparently that's very difficult for the smaller rural areas. They are not going to benefit.
Obviously, we know that the volumes are not that high, especially in rural areas. We're not seeing much choice because there aren't many retailers where to buy. In fact, someone was actually arguing that since diesel has been deregulated, farmers have not really seen much movement in terms of the price of diesel going down. So why do you want to open up the market if there hasn't been much benefit accrued to the farmers? But the other reality is they are able to shop around if they can, to compare prices from different retailers, but also even wholesalers. And get the best price.
And let's be clear, I mean, some of the diesel users are very big users. They don't just fill up the tanks in their car, so they will really look for a good price.
Obviously, they are already, Francis, looking for a better price, since at the retail level, you are able to shop around. But the question could be, if you don't have much choice in terms of the suppliers of diesel, you only have one supply in your vicinity, then it becomes a huge challenge. You have to take that price that's available within your vicinity because that's the only place where you could go.
All right, so a concern for different areas. We know on Wednesday, diesel completely deregulated, expecting 93 as well. But government's yet to actually decide if it will intervene or not in petrol price hikes at the moment, after announcing that relief earlier that would end now in May. All right, that was Tshepo Mongoai, economics editor at the SABC. Let's take a look at your